Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of Keto Chat. I am your host, Carol Freeman, a board-certified keto nutrition specialist. You guys, I'm so excited today for my guest. I discovered her. I'd never heard of her before. I was listening to a podcast, Dr. Tro's podcast, and she was talking about a topic that I love so much, and it's so integral into being successful if you're going to follow any kind of a dietary change long-term. And so please help me welcome Bitten Jonsson, all the way from the middle of Sweden. She's a registered nurse, addiction specialist, sugar ADDIS certified as a forerunner in this field in Sweden, international lecturer, and has frequently been seen on TV and radio in Sweden, Norway, and Finland. Bitten is trained in the USA and has developed a special treatment method involving integrated functional medicine and orthomolecular medicine together with American addiction medicine, 12-step based programs and traditional medicine. She's written 3 books about sugar addiction. The Sugar Bomb in Your Brain was her first book, and the Sugar-Free Cookbook in 2006 and updated in 2018. And so please welcome, everybody clap for Bitten Jonsson.
Thank you, Carol. I'm very happy to spend some time with you. I have studied your website.
Oh, wonderful.
Really impressed with your journey. Wow.
Oh,
so happy to see you so healthy after what happened to you. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, me too.
You've done a lot of hard work. I know what it takes to really heal like that. It's not something you do sitting in a chair and doing nothing.
Yes. It was a lot of
action.
It was a lot of Googling and searching and pleading with people to help. So yes, yeah. Thank you so much.
Eating and moving and, all kinds of things.
Yeah. So take me back to the beginning. How did you get interested in this topic of addiction and sugar addiction? And tell me your path.
Well, that's a long one, but I'm going to be short. I started stealing sugar cubes when I was 4. That's how it started.
Okay.
I was a very happy-go-lucky kid. I grew up in a big family in the country, ate really good food, but absolutely loved sugar. My favorite drug was chocolate and ice cream all the time. I could, die for that. So anyway, as a teenager, we started dieting, which is deadly dangerous to do. I mean, talk about gaining weight. So we started all kinds of crazy diets. And then starting nursing school, I always wanted to be a nurse when I was young, or a veterinarian, or an astronomer, not astrology, astronomer, or a pilot, all kinds of stuff. But anyway, I ended up being a nurse, started smoking in nursing school just to lose weight, to curb appetite. Nothing else. And then drinking. So when I was 19, it was my first time tasting alcohol, and I loved it. So let's speed forward, and I'm an alcoholic working as a nurse in US, married to an American, and totally, trying to hide it, as we do, feeling ashamed and all that. But my husband, he was a really nice guy. I owe him this forever. He slammed me into a treatment center in California in 1985. So that's when I got sober in September 85. And I was shocked, totally shocked that alcoholism was a brain illness. And that it had to do with reward center and dopamine and neurotransmitters. And in Sweden, it was like a psychosocial blah, blah, blah. You were... You drank because you were lonely or didn't have a job or blah, 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 blah. There was a cost to it. And they said to me, it's a primary illness. And I was freaking out. So, but, at that point, I started to study addiction medicine, neuroscience. And I've been in love with that topic forever since. So that's what I do. Okay. I actually teach addiction. And I don't treat clients, I teach them. Because I mean that if you teach somebody what addiction is all about, you take away the stigma, you understand that you didn't cause this, you're not a weak, bad person, you have a brain illness. And you know what I like to say? People say, that, well, is it genetic? Is it something wrong in my brain? I tell them, no, It's the opposite. You have a very sensitive brain. And being a space nerd, nobody would ever think that the telescope out in space that can see galaxies, that's a very sensitive instrument, right? Would anyone think that that's bad? That sensitivity? So that's what I mean, you know. And that sensitivity is like having, this Ferrari or this space telescope and not knowing what to do with it. So that's what I mean. Addiction is, an illness that you need to understand on a very deep level. That's when you can get out of it. So I got sober then, but at that time, 1985, I must say I knew nothing about nutrition. But I don't feel ashamed because nobody taught me. It was not in nursing school. Nobody knew anything about nutrition. So we ate whatever we wanted. So one day I could eat bacon because I like salt. The other day I could eat only chocolate. And then I smoked and drank a lot of coffee, but I didn't drink. So I was okay, right? And then I was listening to an American that's an expert on relapse prevention. I was doing that in my line of working with alcoholics, drug addicts, and so forth. So I should help the clients, right? And he told me that, if you keep drinking a lot of coffee, eating junk food, smoking, you have a high risk of relapsing in alcohol and drug addiction. And I said, what? How come? How's that going together? That's how little I knew 1992 about, the sensitive brain. So, but that made me wake up. So, of course, I went home from that lecture, quit smoking, cut down on coffee. And I thought, well, I don't have to do anything about my food because I don't like McDonald's. For me, junk food was only McDonald's. It was not chocolate ice cream, da da da. So anyway, that ended up with me gaining a lot of weight. And I think most of all, I know now, I didn't know then, was the volatile blood sugar you get from eating this, So my energy level was either on top speed or crashing bottom. And my mood swings was the same. Either I was, really hunky-dory, or I was very upset, very tired, very cranky. So it was up and down, and I wanted to sleep all the time. I almost drove myself, into a car crash because I almost fell asleep twice in front of the wheel, even though I slept 14 hours a night. So the tiredness, the moodiness, those were much worse than the weight gain. So anyway, I had the incredible fortune to work with an American woman at that time that would, here in Sweden. I moved back to Sweden by then. So she was training us in addiction medicine and how to do addiction treatment. So I said to her, but Joan, how in the whole world is it that I could quit alcohol, quit smoking, cut down on coffee, but I can't quit chocolate and ice cream? And because I tried, I promise you, I tried for 9 months to really stop that, but I couldn't. And she looked at me and she said, well, you might be a food addict. And I got freaked out. Food addict? You can't be a food addict. And I said, I never binge on, boiled cod or cucumbers or anything in that way. Because at that time, 1993, we didn't know about sugar, flour, and processed food. We didn't understand that connection. So we had a horrible food plan in the beginning. We thought we took away sugar, but we didn't. We had grains and we had low fat and all kinds of things. So it was really hard to stay drug-free, as I call it. But I kept fighting that and kept learning more and more and starting to learn about nutrition. And then diet doctor Andreas Enfeldt and Annika Dahlqvist, another doctor, came along in 2005 and talked about low carb. And I had been sniffing around at Atkins, but I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't really understand why it was so good. So anyway, we started with low carb. That's, how I started in 2005. And we saw a remarkable difference in craving, less craving clients. And we started seeing, they started to heal much better. And it was easier to stick to that food plan and so forth. And by that time, I'd been running a treatment center in Sweden for 5 years, and we saw results. But it was very hard to run a treatment center because the National Board of Health didn't accept the diagnosis sugar addiction. So we had a hard time getting clients, or I shouldn't say that. We had a tremendous amount of clients wanted to come to us, but they couldn't get paid by the national health system. So that was sad. So, but really, 1994, I started my first support group. And 96, I started what I call my intensive, 4-day intensive or 1-week intensive, where people came and I taught them what addiction was and how to eat and relapse prevention and blah, blah, blah. So I've been working with thousands of clients with sugar addiction. And as being a nurse, I know how important it is that you don't guess what kind of problem a client has. If you step into my door and I think, well, I guess you have a problem with your knee, or I guess. No. You want to know what's going on. So I knew that there were diagnostic tools for, alcohol and drug use by that time, made by an American called Norman Hoffman. It's called SADS in US. And that was brought to Sweden, and that's what ADDIS is. ADDIS is Alcohol and Drug Diagnostic Instrument.
Okay.
We already had that based on the international diagnostic criteria for addiction, which is ICD-10 or 11 now, and DSM-5. So I thought, well, why not do it for, food, for sugar, flour, processed food? So I did. I started to work on that quite some year ago. I started teaching people 2013, I think. So today we have that, tool where we can really assess somebody. So today we can know if you have a harmful use or if you have an addiction or eating disorder or addiction. Because I think that if somebody had an eating disorder, what they try to teach you is to eat in moderation. And to teach an addict to eat in moderation, that's, the white unicorn, as my colleague David Wolfe used to say. It's a myth. You can't do it.
It's so true. That's what they taught me in school. Was,
I know.
If you restrict any food choices, that's what makes people obsess about it. So you need to help them moderate their intake. And that works really well for people that don't have that biochemistry of being.
Yeah, people with harmful use.
Yeah.
People with harmful use can do that.
We have a viewer here that's got a question. So Yume says, I'm 20.
Yeah. Hi, Yume. Not overweight. Oh, I used to say that sugar addiction comes in many shapes. Comes from people can be really, really emaciated, really skinny, and normal weight and overweight. So it does not have with weight to do because it's a problem in your brain. One thing we see with people that are underweight or normal weight, that they have visceral fat. They can have a lot of fat around inner organs, which is very dangerous too. So, it's not less dangerous. And how people say to somebody, oh, you can eat anything, you're so skinny.
Yes.
And another thing we know today, the problem is that you and I, Carol, we could eat one apple each, the same big apple or small apple, exactly. And then we would measure our insulin, not our blood sugar, the insulin. And if we do that, we can see that one of us could have 10 times more insulin response than, the other one from the same food. So we are also biochemically unique. So, one way to know if you are not overweight, but think you have a problem with sugar, you risk other health illnesses, other consequences. You could be depressed, you could get volatile blood sugar, you could be insulin resistant, you can get all of the consequences, but not being overweight. So that's why, it's important to know if you're addicted.
What would you recommend for this person then about so they're saying I could point out a couple of bad symptoms or effects that they have that they don't realize that they have, but this person is saying that everything's normal, it's fine. What would you what would you advise this person, or not advise because you can't give advice here, but What would you suggest for somebody that feels like I'm not overweight, so how can it be bad for me?
Yeah, right. Well, I would first of all go to my website, bittensaddiction.com, and take the screening instrument that's on there, 6 simple questions called Uncope. And if you have 2 or more yes, you do have a problem, but it will not measure the severity. So if you think that you want to look further into if it might be a problem, because you might not feel consequences now, but later on in life you can have very bad consequences, and that's something we see with sugar. It doesn't kill you right away. It takes a long time to really destroy your body. So that's important to know, because our body is not made to eat sugar, sweeteners, flours, processed food. It's used. Our body should eat biologically appropriate food. And I used to joke and say, when people say, "What should I eat? What should I eat?" Eat only things that have one ingredient. In a piece of meat, it's only meat. Fish, egg, that type of thing. In a veggie, just a veggie. Then you're on the safe side. But then, of course, you need a coach or somebody to help you make a food plan and to develop the fuel mix, which is what I like to say, the fuel mix, the combination of protein, fat, and veggies.
Nice. Well, and then I'll just add too that is it Yume? Is that how you know how to pronounce that? Okay. He's saying there's no bad effects or symptoms, but the fact that she's identifying as a sugar addict means that she is having the symptom of constant craving and obsession, and probably spends a lot of time every single day trying to obtain more sugar and making sure she gets enough sugar. Yeah. So there is a negative effect or symptom that people have, even if they aren't noticing any physical.
And also the body wants to have homeostasis. So the body tries to compensate. And as you're 21, a young person's body and brain can balance this hassle for quite some time. But when the consequences come, they come big time. Then you're suddenly into the depression, no energy. You might start to gain weight. Everything is going to play out very bad for you.
And probably headaches, and people like this are probably prone to migraine.
Tired, mood swings. Yeah, you name it. Yes.
All right. So there's your website. People can go there for a quiz. We'll continue on. So I would love next if you just kind of explain. So you mentioned that alcoholism, sugar addiction, food addiction is a brain illness. Yes. Can you give us a little bit of for those of you watching a little bit of information? Explain that, right? Because like you said, most people think it's somebody's sad or they're lonely or they just need to have better coping skills with life to not care about alcohol or sugar or anything like that. What can you share a little bit more about how
that's the explanation people have to keep drinking, using, eating. But the problem is that when we start doing this really deep questionnaire, the assessment, the sugar assessment, we see that the first symptoms of addiction usually come around age 4 to 5. So I used to say it's simple, don't put the wagon in front of the horse. So when you start looking at it, you see this, basically you see it when you heal people, that what they thought was depression was low energy due to the sugar. So when they get on the right fuel mix, the energy come back and there is no depression. All kinds of consequences they have will disappear on the right food plan. So the food caused addiction. And then, sugar is a gateway drug. So sugar rebuilds the reward center. And, you increase the tolerance and you increase the tolerance. That's the way, the brain and the body works. So you need much more after a while to get the same kick effect or numb or whatever feeling you want to obtain from it. And that's another very interesting thing when you study neuroscience. If you ask people, what do you want the food or the drug to do for you? And some people will say, like I used to say, I wanted chocolate and ice cream to make me alert. I want to be speeded. Woohoo! I wanted alcohol to make me speeded. But actually, it's not speed. Alcohol is a sedative. So my body and my brain reacted with speed on that drug.
Mm.
You see what I mean?
Mm.
Other people want to be calm, relaxed, and they use alcohol. Same drug, two different effects.
Mm.
That's another very interesting thing you need to know about neuroscience, neurotransmitter, and the reward center, that it can react in different ways. So, but what I found is that people that like flour, the bread, pasta, all of that, they like to be uh, uh, tired, slow down, calm. They like the calmness. And people that go more for pure sugar, they want the speed.
Mm.
That way. But,
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. That's really, I
look at that. Start looking at that.
Yeah.
At least in the beginning, once you have your brain have your reward center actually have upregulated and downregulated the neurotransmitters, you usually use both because you're tired from one drug, so you need to speed with another one, and then you feel stressed by the one you speeded with, so you need to take another one to calm down. So this all starts in the reward center, in those pathways with dopamine and all kinds of neurotransmitters. So it's the reward center where this process starts. And then, of course, it also affects our reptilian brain, because that's a survival brain.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it, the instincts to eat comes from the reptilian brain. It's more like an instinct. It's not a conscious thought up in neocortex. So people think that they are very conscious and that they make a decision themselves. And I said, no, you're run by a monster in your brain that is driving you. And that's why you have loss of control, because you say, okay, I don't want to gain weight, but you keep eating. So you don't, you do the opposite. So you have lost control. And that's actually what addiction is all about, the losing of the control. So actually, if you think of your brain have different parts, if you think about your brain, the most primitive part is the reptilian brain. And then you have the reward center. They are both very geared into survival.
Mm-hmm.
Survival. So, they are ready wired when you're born. But then anything you do, eat, and that's something that's very fascinating too. People don't understand what kind of building parts they need for their brain. I tell you, you can't go to the hardware store to buy stuff for your brain. It's food, and it is keto food. That's exactly what it is all about. Okay, that's how you heal. So when we talk about biochemical repair, the most important thing is the food, the food, the food. I mean, it comes 1 to 10, 1 to 10 is the food, and then you can add. I like to talk about breathing. I like to talk about sleep. I like to talk about physical activity, and then you can also use supplements. But there is no quick fix. And you know that. I saw that on your story. But anyway, other parts of the brain is the prefrontal cortex, where your personality is, where you make logical reasoning. And, you have the limbic system with all your feelings, and you have the neocortex with all the higher functions. They all cooperate all the time. But when a drug hijacks your reward center and your reptilian brain, you become a little red dog monster, is what we call it. The red dog, that is in there, craving, making you do things you don't want to do. So when the activity is, as I say to my clients, it's like you have this beautiful mansion with all the rooms. There is wiring for electricity drawn to all the rooms. But if you pump, the big chandelier in the hallway, there's not enough electricity to go to your limbic system, your neocortex, and your prefrontal cortex. You see what I mean? So your life starts to dwindle. You become drug oriented. Your life is about eating the drug, the food drug, trying to recuperate from eating the food drug, feeling miserable that you ate it, thinking about how you can avoid it, another diet or some quick fix or, whatever, and then you eat it again, even if you didn't want to. So you are in a vicious circle.
Mm.
Well, there is very little light going out to all those other functions, all the rooms in that beautiful mansion. So what we need to do is take away the drug, okay? Start healing and start, neurons that fire together, wire together. And I call it brain bypass, all those old pathways that you created in your drug life, you have to create new ones. That's why you can't think yourself into recovery. You can't talk yourself into recovery. You cannot read yourself into recovery, but you can act. It's action. You need to get your butt off the chair and do things. It's action, all about action. And then my clients say to me, no, I don't want to do that because it's boring. And I said, I don't care. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. Because, once you start doing little baby steps and doing it, it's going to be fun. You need a new pathway. Then it's going to be fun. So, the brain, it's, so many things that you could learn about the brain and the connections and how it works and nourishment and neurotransmitters and all that. But that was more of a broad picture what's going on. So the illness is in the reward center, but it affects the whole brain and your stomach, your body, everything.
Yeah. Well, and it speaks so much.
To think about a primary illness brain.
Yeah. Well, and it speaks so much to, I'm mostly working with women because they're very good dieters. They've dieted a lot, but they always say, well, that diet worked really well because I lost a weight, but something happened. I don't know what happened. And then I just fell off the wagon and I just started eating the way I ate before. And now I've gained the weight back. So it really is the food addiction part of the brain that's never being addressed. That's the part
what we call that? It's addiction memory circuit, a euphoric recall. The thing is, it's an irreversible thing in your reward center. Once an addict, always an addict. So that's the problem, that nobody teaches you about your addicted brain and teach you what to do and not to do. You can never have one bite, but nobody want to think that of their favorite food, their favorite drug. What's the meaning with life if I can't eat chocolate? That kind of thing. So you need to be coached to grieve that, to find other things that are fun in life. And also, I think one of the most important things is never, ever think forever. It's only for today. It's only for today. Everybody can think in the morning, only for today, I'm going to stick to my food plan. 24 hours. That's it. Tomorrow you can make a new commitment, but don't think about the rest of your life today. And also you need to be aware that somebody needs to teach you relapse prevention. What is a risk situation? How do you deal with the risk situation? What is warning signs? What is your warning signs, your specific warning signs? I love to teach clients that, so they are aware of that here are my warning signs. And if you and I will hang together and you were an addict, I'm sure that your risk situation wouldn't be the same as mine.
Right.
Different risk situation that I react to, and you would have different. So I need to deal with mine and you with yours. So, and also the reason support groups is so important is that somebody is always ahead of you. Okay. So let's say that you were ahead of me and I will have a risk situation tomorrow. I call you and say, Carol, tomorrow I'm going to do whatever, this and that. And, that's a risk situation. I might get craving. I don't know. How's it going to work? It might be a lot of food there. I don't want to see it, and then I ask you, have you done that? And you said, sure. What did you do? What did you do? And you have a lot of people to call and ask them, how did you do it? Well, I brought my food with me, or, I went out, ate in a different place, or I took care of it. And then there's something else that is very important to understand. We have something called euphoric recall. So anything that happens to us, sad things, good things, fun things, our brain, that part of our reward center can suddenly say, ooh, wouldn't it be good with chocolate now? Oh, you've been so good today, Bitten. You could have some chocolate. because that is a physical euphoric recall. I didn't cause it. My brain caused it. A part of my brain caused that. So we need to learn how to deal with that. To tell that little red dog monster, as I call it, hey, calm down. You know what? Sure, that's a good idea. But you know what? We're not going to do it today. That red dog is street smart, but not intelligent. So I can say to it, we're not going to do it today. So it goes in the basket and say, okay, I'll watch you tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
If that happens tomorrow, I say the same thing. Well, okay, not today. And then in a couple of days, that craving is gone. You feel much better. You're in balance again, and so forth. So it's very important to learn of all the addictions out there, all the outlets of addictions. I think that sugar addiction is the worst in the way of craving, due to the fact that we are exposed to that drug very early in life. Babies, very early. So the pathway is very strong for that particular addiction. And not only that, you tell me, can you go anywhere in society today and not see the drug? So we are constant exposed to our drug. I mean, a cocaine addict is not having cocaine at the gas station, grocery store, wherever they go. There are not any little pots filled with cocaine,
Yeah.
But drug is everywhere. Smell, and we are more sensitive to cue-induced cravings than other addicts, The smell of things, bread, chocolate, whatever you have, food. So that hits our brain much harder. It causes craving. We need to be aware of that. And we need to learn how to do craving management. And we used to say, one bite is too much and 1,000 is never enough. Does it make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's talk to the people out there right now that might be a little in denial. I just need something sweet to get rid of my cravings. That's how I cope. For the people I'm working with, I'm appealing to out there following a keto diet, that they feel like, no, I need the desserts, the keto desserts and the sweets and all this kind of stuff, because the cravings get too intense if I don't have those things. What would you say about that?
I would say that, first of all, look over your food plan. Is the fuel mix wrong? Do you need to increase the fat, or do you need to increase the protein, or where do you need to increase something? You need to be very aware of that. Are there other factors you need to take a look at? Salt, minerals, fluid. Are you drinking enough? Are you moving? How's your sleep? But I would just shoot a lot of questions at them, first of all. And then I would say that the absolutely most stupid thing you can do is, if you're a sugar addict, is to eat keto bread and keto desserts, because that are substitutes, and substitute will never work on an addict. So, if you take one bite, you're waking the monster up. You can't, if you have been a heroinist, you can't take a little bit heroin on Saturday. That's going to start the illness all over. I mean, it's going to just go downhill ever since.
Well,
So
yeah.
you need to be aware. If you need to accept that you're an addict, you need, if you can cry and be mad at that, life threw you that curveball, but if you accept it, you need to act in that manner. You need to learn about it. Lots of knowledge. You need to hang with other addicts. How did you do it? And then you have to share. You have to share your problem so that people can mirror you and tell you what to do. Not by saying, you do this, by saying, this is how I did this when that happened. Try that, try that, try that.
Yes. Yeah. And I advise my clients that the brain can't tell the difference between a keto version and the real version, right? Like when it sees a keto pizza, it thinks a pizza. It doesn't know, like, oh, that's a keto version. That's not the same.
No. And also we have to understand that people have different trigger foods. Some people trigger on seeing like pizza. Pizza was I was never a flour addict. Bread, pizza, pasta, not interesting. Chocolate ice cream. That was my drug. So of course I don't eat the keto substitute, but that wouldn't trigger me as something chocolatey, ice creamy. That would trigger me. So I stay away from that, and I wouldn't try that substitute because I know how dangerous it would be for me. It will wake up the monster. I don't want to have that monster waking up because it steals energy from me. I want to live life to the fullest.
Yeah, that's the truth, the freedom. So instead of coping with cravings by feeding them, you actually get rid of them or reduce them, minimize them, so that you do have the freedom that you're no longer obsessed and compulsively eating.
Yeah, well, if you go on a craving and eat something for the craving, it's going to increase. I promise you.
Yep. Yes. So true. So what are some, basic steps of moving towards addiction recovery? What do you recommend, or what do you lead your clients?
If you have a hard time accepting that you might have the illness and you're in and out of diets and you're always crashing and getting back up and you're tired of being sick and tired, I would certainly advise you to go to my website. There is a PDF with trained professionals, and look for one that you contact to do a sugar assessment. That is an in-depth assessment, I promise you. It is 2 to 3 hours really working with a professional to get your whole life laid in front of you in chronological order. And that will help you to see how this has affected you, and also give you a lot of tools in what you need to do next. Because, if we look at the steps, it's easy. You need to detox. There's no other way around it. Oh, you did the Swedish version.
Well, the website, you can pick translate into English, but the URL still is in.
Okay, good.
Let's see. Oh, here we can do. Yeah, people can't click on it from here, so I'll just leave it as. We'll put back up here. That's easier for people to probably type in.
Okay. And then they go to for patients and getting help. And then you have a PDF there. And then you need help to detox. And I have, been doing this for 27 years and thousands of clients. So I think that cold turkey is the best. But you need to know what to do, like, between the meals. Then it is in the beginning 3 meals a day. It is glutamine powder and coconut oil between meals as curbing cravings, salt shots. There are tricks you can do to ease that period. And what the keto world call keto flu, we call withdrawal. And, so that's exactly the same symptoms, right? And there are ways to work on that. And, you can't take it all away and be hunky-dory in 2 days, I promise you. But after 3 weeks, you will have a different level of energy, outlook on life. You will feel much better. So, that's the first 3 weeks might be the toughest. And you need a lot of support. So I would advise you to ask a professional for help. They have done this so many times. They know exactly what to do and what kind of tools you need. And then one of my favorite de-stressing tools is, I'm going to try something on you. Can I do a test on you, Carol?
Sure.
Yeah, to show what this is all about, what I mean, short. You look straight forward. Don't move your head. Only your eyes. And, okay, start. Look up. Look down, look to your right, look to your left, look up, look down, look to your left, look to your right, and look up, and look down. How many good breaths did you take?
I noticed at least one, but I wasn't focused on the breathing.
This is a very good test to do because most people say none.
Oh.
Because they forget to breathe because they were so focused on doing what I told them. So they hold their breath. And this is something we do many, many times during the day. This is called stress apnea.
Mm.
And you open your computer and 30 mails come bouncing in, boom, telephone goes high wired, kids are screaming, the noise at the office, or I mean, there are so many stressful things in your life. You're rushing around. You hold your breath. And that is very, very bad for your body. That increases craving tremendously, and it puts the body on hold.
Mm.
And there's a lot to read on the about this on the site consciousbreathing.com. So I learned about this many years ago, and I tape my mouth every night
Mm.
because many of us snore a little bit or sleep with open mouth. And nose breathing is the natural way to breathe, and it's the healthiest way. And also, that is very good to think about now when we have the COVID, that you breathe through your nose.
Mm.
And if your nose is stuffed, it is because your mouth breathing too much.
Mm. Mm.
So you can read a lot on the site conscious breathing. So this is first the food, then the breathing. So, there is something called the sleep tape, or you can take surgical tape on the pharmacy and tape.
Mm.
So I kiss my dog goodnight and then I tape. And if I fall asleep not taping, I'm much more tired the day after. And tired is the biggest warning signal that wants us to start eating, right?
Mm.
And then I use my favorite tool, the relaxator. So it's breathing resistant. It's a membrane in here. So if I were stressed, or when I drive the car, or when I'm in front of the computer, when I watch TV, I train my diaphragm with this. So I get a much better breathing and a much better oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange in my body, which increases fat metabolism and curbs craving.
Hmm.
There is a book written about this, about the science behind breathing, this exercise, and the nose breathing and the taping.
Hmm.
So that's another thing I do. I love my little, pacifier. Okay, so I use that. You can use it 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night, and whenever you want during the day, out walking or whatever. Don't forget about people looking at you. They're just jealous.
Well, if you put it under your mask these days, nobody will even see it. So
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, or a visor. Okay. Yeah. But anyway, so food, 1, breathing, 2, sleep. How to sleep and get your sleep hygiene, as I call it in Swedish. I don't know if you have a word in English about, to work on your sleep, to improve your sleep is incredibly important. Your body needs rest. It needs to recalibrate. It needs to synchronize everything in your brain and your body. It's very important to get your sleep in. And everything you do, start with baby steps. Tweak it a little bit. Baby steps. Very important. And of course, physical activity. And, I say to somebody that is very overweight and the word exercise makes them puke, I understand that. The reason is because your body doesn't have any energy on cell level, on a cellular level. You're tired to your bone because of this eating. So I tell them, forget about exercise. And they look at me, oh, you mean I don't have to exercise? Well, I tell them, you can't exercise away any obesity or overweight anyway. You need to do that with the food. But for one thing, if you had a car where the engine, the fuel tank were broken, would you try to run it? And they say no. So we need to fix the fuel mix. And this I can really see in clients. When you worked on the food for 3 weeks, they start feeling energy and wanting to move. So if all you dare do the first days of this is take a walk around your living room, do that. And then do the living room, the bathroom, and the kitchen. But what I'm trying to say is Start slow and increase. Don't feel that, oh my God, tomorrow I'm going to start eating really good and I'm going to run and I'm going to go to the gym. And I mean, that's how people do it. And
Yes.
crash after 4 days. They are in bed and they think, I never want to do that again. So I want them to really do that and have somebody supporting you, somebody that calls and said, Carol, did you walk around the living room twice? I love it. You're good. That type of thing. And that makes people feel really good about themselves and not have these high goals, because it doesn't work when you're an addict. Addicts can't have big visions and big goals. They need to get through the next 24 hours and then feel good. And then my favorite, de-stress spiritual changer is the gratitude list. No matter how shitty your day was, excuse my French with that word, that's a Swede, how bad it was when you go to bed, think about or write down 3 things that you can be grateful for that day. Did you go outside on the porch and breathe air? Maybe that was your little exercise. Did you have good food that day? Were you kind to somebody? Were somebody kind to you? It can be anything. Did you really hug your pet? For oxytocin, so important. Whatever. But it can be very small things. But I think if you do that for 90 days, you're going to have a different outlook on life. I promise you. Do the gratitude list for 90 days and build on that.
I love it. So based on what you've shared with me here today, I'm going to recap.
Sure.
Bitten's four steps to sugar addiction recovery.
Yes.
Number 1 is you need education. You need to understand that you are an addict. You need to come to terms with that, and you need to understand how that all happens in your brain. Number 2 is you need support, both from a trained professional and group support, other people that have been through the process. Number 3 is you need to change your food. Cold turkey is best. Not only you need to eliminate the addictive foods, but you need to eat the right fuel mixture and nourish your body and eat healthy 1-ingredient foods. And number 4 is the category of self-care. And you've covered a lot of those things: stress management, relaxation, breathing, sleep hygiene, movement, even if it's not to the degree of exercise, and also gratitude exercises too. So
yes,
that's simple. Yeah. It's simple. There's the process. Just 4 steps you have to do.
It should be very simple. Otherwise, you won't do it. Yeah. And if you fall down after day 3, get back up.
Right.
And talk to somebody about it. Nobody is doing this perfect ever. You can fall down a year later, and relapse is not failure. You are not a failure. It's not something that you should stay stuck there. Just because you fell down, you can't get back up. Get help. Ask for help. Have somebody talk you through it and see, what could I have done different? Is there something I should take away that I'm doing? Is there something I should add? That's all it is. It's just a lecture. Relapse is lectures.
Yes, excellent. Well, in wrapping this up, is there anything else that you were hoping I would ask you about, or that you want to share with people watching?
Well, all I want to say is, if you sit out there and you feel this is your problem, please be in touch with us. We have been there, many of us, we have been there ourselves. We know how to get out of the jungle. We guide you. We do that with love. Please contact us. We are many today that can help you.
Yes, you're not alone in this world of addictive substances at every turn. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. I'm sure that you and I could talk for 3 days straight and never run out of topics to cover. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, I love this
message. It's a big one that's really missing out there, right? Because we've got the diet specialists, the nutrition people, and the healthy healthy food, and then we've got the psychology people. And there's so few of us that bring those together, and they're essential if we're going to solve this obesity and chronic disease and all those things that people are suffering from their missed diagnosis of sugar and food addiction too. So I believe that that's really at the core of why we're struggling with all these chronic diseases and overweight. It's because we're eating these foods that are addictive without and in denial that they are, and everyone else is telling us that we should be able to moderate the portion of it, and it's must be something wrong with us that we can't just eat less of that. So I really appreciate you being here and getting the word out.
I appreciate you asking me. Thank you very much. It was wonderful to hang with you for a while and get to know more about you.
Yeah,
I read your website. I love that.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. We have a few people still watching. Any last minute questions for Bitten before we wrap this up? Pop them in now. We'll any questions about sugar addiction, food addiction, recovery from any of that? We'll hang out for just 1 or 2 more minutes. And there's a tiny bit of a lag, so if they want to pop a question in there, we'll do that real quick. So, all right. And
otherwise, email me.
Yeah. I'll put her website up here one more time too. So, all right. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this on the YouTube, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell for all the notifications too. And that's always working on bringing you the best of the best people to help you live a healthy keto lifestyle. So thank you again for Bitten for being here. We'll see you later, everyone.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Bye.